How's it going? You look fantastic.
Oh, you tell me that all the time. That's because you know me for 30 years. You know me for 30 years.
30 years.
You and John Denarama, both of you know me for 30 years. That's
Wow.
amazing. Isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah.
I went to Anthony's college graduation party. Do you remember?
I do.
My daughter, who's now she's 28. She was in I think she was in an infancy.
Yeah, you were carrying her. I was trying to get that photo for today, but we couldn't find it. My mom couldn't find it. It's in the attic somewhere, but oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. We have that.
My daughter was in an infancy. She's now, sitting at a cafe in Brooklyn that's what she just texted me, having a cold brew and coffee. And I was just thinking to myself, I said, I can't believe it's like 30 years that went by. And when you told me, you said, I began my career with you, and now, I began my career at Fordham, and now that's the last class I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. I know John Denarama said the same thing. It's like, I can't believe it.
I know.
So listen, I'm really excited that you're here. This is a really great I'm not just saying it because you're all sitting here, but they're really terrific. They ask a lot of questions. They're really wonderful. So I'd like to introduce you a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. And by the way, can we record this?
Yeah, you want me to? I asked everybody. They said okay. So
oh, yeah. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want it? You want it in the cloud?
Yeah, do it in the cloud, and then when you get the email, then you can just forward.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. All right, so it's done.
Great.
All right?
Thank you.
I'll do it, and then I'll make sure that
I mean, it's my last lecture with you. We have to get it recorded, right?
Wow. That is true, isn't it? That is true. All right, everybody, you ready for Anthony? Anthony, I'm so glad you're here. This is Anthony Lobosco. Anthony, again, is a Fordham alum. He graduated in 1994. At that time, I don't know if you all know, it was the College of Business Administration.
CBA.
Yeah, it was. And then they changed it about maybe like 10 years or so when we got the major influx of money from Gabelli. And I think it was $25 million at the time. And then what happened was that the school, obviously, we changed the name in his honor of giving us that money, which was needed. Anthony also received his MBA from Gabelli. While he was going through his MBA, the MBA program, he started, and he was the founder of the Fordham Entrepreneurship Society, which was back in 2007. He's a technology veteran. He's a technology expert. He will tell you a little bit more about that. But more importantly, and why I asked him to come here, he is a quintessential entrepreneur. Quintessential. He has the entrepreneurial spirit. He has all of those attributes that make for an entrepreneur. He has started over 7 entrepreneurial ventures. And I say over because I'm sure there's more that I don't even know about. I've worked on 1 or 2 of them with him. Which is always exciting to be around Anthony because he's a real, he's a think tank in just one person. He's just extraordinary. He's a dear friend. We go for sushi all the time, and how wonderful after all these years of being a student, and you'll see that as with who I've invited back as a student, how they've just become friends. And he always comes back to my classes to talk to me. He has never said no to me, ever, ever. So, Anthony, I'm going to turn it over to you. All of you enjoy. And anybody interested in becoming an entrepreneur? I'm just curious. Anybody thinking of starting their own business? I don't know. Just consider it. I didn't think so myself until at some point I go, I have some extra time. I think I'm going to start my own business. So just when you're listening to Anthony, have a real open mind. Because you never know down the road what might occur. All right, Anthony, I'm turning this over to you. I'm muting myself, and it's all yours, and you can share your slides. You can do whatever.
Thanks. It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the intro. Always amazing. I always have to think, who are you introducing? This person sounds amazing. All right, so let me bring up. How is everyone doing on this summer day? Everyone in New York, the U.S., anyone international? No? Okay.
Jersey, pretty close.
Yeah, there's a few people international.
Yeah, I'm from Mexico.
Oh, cool. Are you calling in? Are you Zooming from Mexico?
Yeah, I'm currently in Mexico City.
Wow, that's great. How's the weather?
It's a mess. I think it rains at night, and then over the day it's super hot.
How hot does it get there?
Oof. Let's say 80 max.
Wow. Okay, cool. So I'm in Westchester County, New York. I'm not far from Rose Hill, and as Dr. D said, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys, right? So, we worked on a venture, one of my ventures together, where I'm going to go into, but when I failed at that venture, she asked me to come back to Fordham and talk about it, because I really, it was hard to make sense of it, right? Because I really put a lot of work, a lot of effort into it. I really, really believed I was changing the world. And it was hard to overcome. So being able to make sense of it and then translate that into, failing, and how failure is an asset to you. And as my title says, it was my opportunity to fail on my entrepreneurial journey. I'm hoping that it comes across to you guys in a way that you understand that failure is not the do-all end-all. Failure is a good thing, right? So, I'm going to talk today about who I am, overcoming failure, obviously, creating opportunities from that, and then also a little bit about personal branding, and doing some Q&A. So, who am I, right? As Dr. D said, I went to Fordham twice, graduated in '94, and also '06. In Gabelli Graduate School, I majored in marketing and management and had a designation in entrepreneurship, and I started the first entrepreneur society at Fordham with my friends, students, co-friends, co-students, and it was great. And I've been in IT sales for 25 years. That's information technology. And I've been a VP of sales and marketing. And I'm also a blogger. And obviously, I'm an entrepreneur. So, went to Chaminade High School way back when. And, this kind of illustrates what I just said. So, and this here, we always love this image. This was what a cell phone looked like if you were lucky enough to have it when I was a kid. So, we've definitely come a long way when it comes to technology. So these are some companies I've worked for over the years. And does anything look familiar to you guys? Usually I hear from students that Cisco is, everyone recognizes Cisco, and also on the bottom left, I was an intern, which I got from Dr. D's class way back when, with Howard Stern. So I was a Howard Stern intern through Fordham, which was great. So the rest are all technology companies that I worked for over the years. And I'm a blogger as well. So these are some of my blogs. And currently today, I work for a company called Nextiva. And Nextiva is a cloud communications company, right? So anyone ever hear of VoIP? Anyone hear that term before? VoIP just basically means making calls over the internet. And what we're doing right now, we're on Zoom, we're talking, we're communicating, we're obviously on video. If you had a phone, you can speak through your laptop, through your computer, through your mobile app as well, and everything would go through the internet. And that's what Nextiva does. We do that not only for small businesses, but we do that for universities, and we also do that for large companies. So I basically work work with partners, work with companies that sell our services. So I enable them to become really good sort of experts as much as possible on our technology. So these are some of the clients that we have that we empower. So I'm sure that you guys know Netflix and some other companies as well that's on there. So, but back to what we do. So in 2007, I said goodbye to my job. I had a cushy job, a great job with a large telecommunications company, making really good money. And I said, you know what, I just graduated from Gabelli. I had been working on a project for a bunch of years. I really felt I wanted to change the world. So I said goodbye to my job and tried to start and launch this company. Have you guys ever heard of a company called Nextdoor? So Nextdoor basically is brings neighborhoods online everywhere, and it's valued at $3.5 billion today. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to do that in a company called NeighborBee. And NeighborBee was trying to do the same thing, bringing neighborhoods online, starting in New York City. And when I did that, I had worked with Dr. D on this. I worked with Fordham interns. I had a lot of people, and we were actually working on a prototype that we were going to go live with. But then I kind of crashed and burned. And that was not fun to do. But I failed. And, when you look back at that, right, I look at failure as ways that don't work, right? So if you guys ever heard of Thomas Edison, Thomas Edison was a famous inventor. And he says he didn't fail. He just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. And I really thought about that. And that's a mindset that I currently have, because there are so many things that go into really stepping up and trying to do something. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, you got to sit back and think about why it didn't work. Maybe you can try and do something else. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys have any questions about any of that? Okay. So that was my opportunity to fail, right? That was my opportunity. It was 2007. I was single. I was not married. I didn't have children. So really, when you look at my risk was low from that perspective. I still took a hit very much on financially and a lot of others. But overall, it was not terrible. So I'm just saying that as you go through your life and as you get more responsibility, and that's why I call myself the practical innovator, because I believe a practical innovator is somebody that has people depending on them emotionally and financially. And because of that, you have to be responsible about it. You have to be a responsible entrepreneur and really think about those other people. I inadvertently did this. I thought about starting a business and taking a big risk when I was younger, when I didn't have those responsibilities around me, but I'm happy I did, because I could never do that today. Any questions on that? Any comments? Okay. So when you fail forward. And you want to fail up, right? So instead of failing backwards, right? And it's just a metaphor to, just continue moving forward. Continue just climbing and learning from your mistakes and failing up. And that's what I do. And that's what successful people do. That's what you always want to do. Even when things do not seem like they are going to get better. They will. You got to keep hustling. So a loss is not a failure until you make an excuse, right? When I first failed, I started making excuses, thinking about, maybe this didn't work and that didn't work. But really, you have to stare at yourself in the mirror. And it really comes down to you. Things don't happen to you. They happen because of you. And because of that, you really have to take ownership and responsibility of those things. So, I have this great video about famous failures. Is that good for a good show?
It's my favorite.
I know it is. Okay.
My absolute favorite.
All right. There might be a commercial before, so just bear with it.
After being cut from his high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. He wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teachers said he would never amount to much. Was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. At age 11, he was cut from his team after being diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, which made him smaller in stature than most kids his age. At 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being unceremoniously removed from the company he started. A high school dropout whose personal struggles with drugs and poverty culminated in an unsuccessful suicide attempt. A teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything and that he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. Rejected by Decca recording studios, who said, "We don't like their sound. They have no future in show business." His first book was rejected by 27 publishers. His fiancée died, failed in business, had a nervous breakdown, and was defeated in 8 elections. If you've never failed, you've never tried anything new.
What'd you guys think of that? Any comments? Any thoughts on that?
Very eye-opening, I would say.
Yeah, which one did you think was, which one really jumped out at you?
There was many, but the first one that comes to mind is actually the nervous breakdown, the death of the wife. So Abraham Lincoln, like I just feel, that one was a bit surprising. I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right?
No, completely, yeah.
So really, anyone else?
The one about Albert Einstein was also very shocking, how he couldn't talk until he was 4 years old.
Yeah. I'd love to meet, well, obviously I can't meet the teacher, but, just hearing about that teacher that told Einstein that he would not amount to anything is, I think, is pretty out of touch, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, it's just when you find yourself in situations, and you know, people will always tell you things won't work, or you know what, sorry, not interested, or things like that, and you have to be able to navigate around that and really believe in yourself to get past that and, you know, continue moving forward. And that comes down to, you know, a lot of things, right? So when you look at success, we only see Oprah Winfrey of what she is today. We only see Abraham Lincoln of what we read in the history book, and Einstein as well, and Michael Jordan, and so on and so forth. But what really happens is that there is, I love this metaphor because, you know, when you look at an iceberg, right, the iceberg is small on top, but there's a big iceberg, big ice on the bottom. And that bottom represents everything from, you know, failure, risks, sacrifice, hard work, you know, things like that. So, there's a lot that goes into success. There is no such thing as overnight success unless you win the lottery. And, you know, then that can happen overnight. But beyond that, there is no such thing as that. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Nishi, do you have a question? I think Logan had his hand up also.
Yeah, sorry, I can't see all the any hands up if you have them up. So
That's
sorry
okay,
about that.
I can see it. Good, Nishi.
Mine was about the video that you just showed us. I thought the one about Eminem was pretty emotional as well. And also, I kind of thought of it as like a guessing game. I was trying to guess if I knew the person. And I was waiting for Stephen Hawking too. I was like, maybe they will show, considering what he's been through and the things that he's not able to attain.
Yeah, I mean, that list can go on, and thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, looking at people that have challenges and overcame it, that might be a different video, maybe. It's more of the, you know, obviously, oh, these Michael Jordan, 6 rings, the most successful basketball player of all time, was cut by his high school basketball team, went home crying. I mean, who would have thought about that? Who would have thought these people would have failed? And even, like you said, Eminem, you know, with the suicide attempt and, you know, things like that too. It's pretty amazing.
You know, I guess who's talking? Alia?
Lana, yeah, sorry. No, I was gonna say, I'm not sure if anyone has seen the video of Oprah, but she like states, she says this in one of her interviews, and she says, you know, I was not allowed, like they told me I was not fit for TV, and then she said, but without that, I would not become who I was today without it.
Yeah.
You know, Alana, as you get older, you'll reflect back and you'll say, wow, if that didn't happen, you know, it wouldn't have brought me here. And I'm sure whoever was in that presentation before that Anthony showed in that video, if you really thought about it, and if you really thought about it and reflected, you'd go, wow, that had to happen, right, Alana? That had to happen in order for me to get here. I think David has his hand raised, Anthony. That was great, Alana.
Oh, forgot to unmute. How do people build up how do people build up that confidence and that perseverance after they fail? Like, for example, Dr. Seuss, he went to 27 publishers. How do you get that strength to go to number 28?
It's a great question. I love that question. And, you know, the reason is, in my opinion, is passion. Believing in what you do and not really thinking about, you know, when you're passionate and you build something, and you just know in your heart that it will work or that it is the right thing to do. And it not only can relate to business, but but it can relate to a lot of things, whether that's relationships, schools, things like that. But it really comes into passion and gut instinct. So Dr. Seuss, even though he was, think about it too, right? I mean, logically, people that were rejecting Dr. Seuss or anyone else for that matter, everyone has their own agenda, right? So if you know in your heart that it's the right thing to do, maybe he modified things, maybe he had to. But if something doesn't work, like going back to Albert Einstein, or Thomas Edison, I'm sorry, the things don't work. He found 10,000 ways that don't work. Maybe Dr. Seuss had found 27 ways that didn't work. Maybe he just tried something different. And when you're passionate and you really believe in it, you'll make the changes. Maybe you don't go after the same people and present to the same type of people. Maybe you have to present to someone else. And maybe that's what got him to, I truly believe, passion and the love of what he does, what he did, was really what made him get to 28. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's very hard to really understand that when you are, it's a bit abstract, but when you're experiencing it, even on a small level, you will certainly understand it. I guarantee in your life, you've experienced things like that too. So, I always say to everyone, just reflect on don't look back on your life and say, oh, I should have done this, I should. Just learn from it, and even look back on certain things when you're connecting the dots about things. Maybe you did some things that exemplified that, and you want to basically take that mindset and maybe put it into something that you may not have done yet, that you are going to do in the future. So, anyone else? Thank you.
Logan, do you have a question?
It's not that important, but I guess. So, would it be accurate to say that those who fail and experience personal tragedy, people telling them they're not going to do anything important, use that as motivation to try and do better and better?
Yeah.
Would that be accurate to say?
Definitely. Oh yeah. I can speak from my personal journey that when people tell me no, 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 I always want to prove them wrong. Not just them personally, but me. I want to basically, I hear no or I hear you can't do that, and that automatically just sets something off. But, with Oprah and people that have achieved great success, I'm sure it's the same exact way as well, right? Because if they did listen to people and what they said, they have a very hard exterior, and they're able to deflect that and things like that. So it could be used as, and my feeling is that it is used in a lot of ways for motivation. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
What do you think if someone tells you that you can't do something?
I mean, it can be used as motivation. I once had some people tell me that they would do better than me in school, so I try to use that to motivate myself to do better and better until I actually get better than them. And things like that I do sometimes use. And if I don't do well on a certain test, I do try and use that to motivate myself to do better in anything, basically.
Yeah. That's great.
And Anthony, that's an important word that Logan's using, motivate, right? Because that's also part of being an entrepreneur. That kind of self-motivation, that's picking yourself up. When you're falling down, you go, okay, let me just regroup here. And then you just keep going. Would you agree?
Totally. In fact, I can tell you from an experience that I've had at the Fordham Entrepreneur Society, I had speakers come in, and I had this one speaker that came in, a Harvard grad. He had a marketing company, made tons of money, was successful, But he didn't like what he did. And he said to us, he said, you have to, whatever you do, find something you are passionate about and get behind it. Because when things go awry, when people are telling you not to do things, or when people are telling you, like you were saying, that they don't believe in you, or a no, or whatever it is, when you're passionate about something, when you love something, you will go through fire for it. And that's one of the big lessons I've learned over the years, big time. And that's the most motivation.
Logan, you have another question?
Yes. So the person you were talking about, they were successful, but they weren't happy because they weren't doing something they liked to do. They didn't really enjoy it. What is really the point of like having your own business? You don't really enjoy it then.
Right. And, you know, that was something, I mean, that was in the 90s that he had that marketing business. And he's a finance guy, so I don't know what he's doing now, but I imagine he got into a hedge fund, which is what he wanted to do, you know, way back when, back in the early 2000s. But sometimes, Logan, you fall into certain things too, right? I mean, it was a hot area during the late 90s to get into online marketing, and there was a lot to be gained from that. And he fell into that. And that was a great thing to fall into from a financial perspective. But once he started dealing a lot with when it wasn't so great, when the market crashed in 2001, when it wasn't all that great, and he was doing things that he didn't really want to do, that's when it didn't become fun for him, and he realized that he really did not like this.
Anthony, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
You know, all of you should really be very on to what motivates you. Is it intrinsic reasons or is it extrinsic? So if it's intrinsic, you know it's about happiness and passion and what fulfills you internally and what feeds your soul. All of that's cliche stuff. Extrinsic is the car, the boat, the house, the money. And just that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the second one or there's anything wrong with the first one. It means that just keep it into perspective. You know, what is motivating you? If it's just money, you need to evaluate because there's got to be something else. That doesn't mean that the money's not important in your life. It just means, is there something else? Because you're going to have to do this for 40 years. So what is it? What's driving you? What's motivating you? So think about that. Is it internal or is it external? And that's a real difference between those that are passionate, are driven, are happy. And I'm not saying that the extrinsic is bad. I'm just saying is keep it in perspective. Anthony, any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally thought I was going to be a billionaire after Neighborby. And when I wasn't, then I really reevaluated things and said, okay, let me put my priorities in place. Now, that wasn't my only motivation. I truly believed, and I still do, improving society, improving people. There was a big intrinsic. There were a lot of reasons beyond money to do that. But when you look at that, I think when you put money aside, then the magic really starts happening because then you realize that it's not about something superficial. That being said, there are, when you're up against the wall too, to do certain things, and money is a big factor, yeah, that can be a motivating, big time motivating factor. But like Dr. D was saying, you have to really put it in perspective. Anything else?
Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, I had a quick question on the topic of Neighborby. Do you think that if you went in a less densely populated area like Manhattan, do you think it would have been more effective? Like starting at a smaller level?
I don't think so. And that's a great point. I was looking into rolling it out in urban areas, but I really do believe that even having the ability to have a prototype at that time was the differentiating factor of my failure. Now, I then created in parallel a blog, and the blog was successful. It had tens of thousands, if not over 20,000 monthly visitors that focused on the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, of New York City. And that also was feeding into, I didn't really know this, but that was kind of helping me to realize what my true passions were, which is blogging, connecting people. I had 90 volunteer writers that wrote about things, and that only would have happened in a densely populated area like Manhattan and other New York City in general. So, but that's a great point. I just didn't get that far. But I was only going to do it, I'll say this too, I was only going to do it in one neighborhood at a time. So I wasn't going to target the entire city. In fact, I was only looking at a few blocks in the area I lived in. Anyone else? All right. So again, failing, right? Talked a lot about failure. So when I failed, I look at it as now opportunities to get better, to really do other things. And it really helped me, the failure, helped me understand my passion, what I am truly passionate about. It was a tremendous time of reflection to really put things in perspective. So, Neighborby today is still a blog. And, when COVID hit, I started interviewing people in their businesses and really trying to get the word out. Whether it was a dry cleaners, whether they were entrepreneurs, having a side hustle, or whatever it is. I was doing things like that. It's still active. I haven't done anything with it, to be honest with you, in the past few months, or maybe longer than that. But overall, it's still alive. And like I've done with many things, I just shelf them until it makes sense. And I truly believe in the name, the brand, and there are so many elements of the local communities that will really fit into this. Any questions on this? Lobo IT. I'm a big personal branding guy. Had I not failed like I did, I never would have created a blog. I never would have gotten the experience about blogging. So I have created, a couple of blogs that I'm passionate about, and one is IT. And I actually should have given you an updated one, because my brand is updated for connecting the dots and things like that. But overall, it feeds into my passion into that, and I'm working on some projects that will complement this. So it really goes. And one thing I've learned as well, failing with Neighborby, was that I was not an expert in hyperlocal. I'm still not an expert in that. But I am an expert in technology. I am an expert in the industry and understanding how to connect the dots in a lot of ways. So that's one thing I did learn, to focus on things that you are really good at. And if you're not good at something, then figure it out. Does that make sense? So find your passion, right? It's a big message I've always had throughout the years. And then when you find your passion, announce it. Announce it to the world. And have you guys heard of integrated marketing? You guys probably take this for granted if you haven't, and you're doing it already, right? Who's on social media? Who is even like right now? We're on Zoom. We're talking about things. We have websites, blogs, creating videos, and we're meeting in person. Things like that too, and that's all integrated. That's all marketing about things that could be elements that how you get your message out. Does that make sense? Okay. So when I talk about personal branding, your brand is your most, and I'll move this, is your most valuable asset. It's what you stand for. And, every one of you on here is a brand. I'm a brand. Dr. D is a brand. We're walking brands, right? So think about this. You are the CEO of yourself. End of story. I mean, that's it. And that's how you, especially growing up, being a digital native, you are your own PR company. You are your own brand, and you have to be your own PR company. So, when you are passionate about something, you will want to get that out to the world, whether that's on Instagram, things like that, whether that's maybe it's sunsets, maybe it's the beach, maybe it's something right now. But does that make sense? And can anyone give me an example of what they use to maybe announce, maybe connect with people out in your network and outside your network? Do you guys use, I don't know, is TikTok something you guys use? You guys using Instagram, Twitter, things like that?
Does anybody have a LinkedIn account? You should. You should. Every one of you should have a LinkedIn account, especially since we're not all freshmen. Right, Anthony?
Big time. So that was one of my next things, right? So on the personal side, those are things that you can do. But on LinkedIn, that is a social network for business. And that is how you connect with other people in business. No one's posting, day-to-day stuff. They're posting things that are relevant to what they do and relevant to adding value to people as well. So, maybe some of you will connect with me on LinkedIn after this, and I'll give you my full name and stuff. You can find me on LinkedIn, or maybe you'll connect with other people on LinkedIn too. But when you're looking for a job, when you are even trying to get into, school, graduate school, things like that, you want to connect with people that are connected to where you want to go. And you can learn about them too. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Final thoughts. Believe in yourself, right? That's a common theme I have. Everyone that's failed always believed in their self. And you always have to believe in what you do, because no one else truly understands all the complexities, everything that goes into it, that iceberg of success and everything below that of what you're doing. So believe in what you're doing. And no one ever made a difference by being like everyone else. So I don't know if you know who P.T. Barnum is, but he was the pioneer of circuses. And, you know, so he obviously did things a lot different than most people did. Just be inspired by anything that inspires you. Hopefully it's something, maybe you're inspired by Steve Jobs. Maybe you're inspired by, you know, someone in, a woman in business, a woman in, you know, something, you know, a man or whomever it is. You're just passionate about them. It can be your parents. It can be a relative. But be inspired. Because that inspiration will really help you and fuel you to maybe get to that next level. And you want to dream big. And never, ever lose hope when you're dreaming big. And have the guts to fail, right? But more importantly, have the courage to try again. Because when you fail, you gotta get up and you gotta move forward. And everyone needs a mentor. And my mentor is right here. And I just want to say thank you for everything, for the lecturing, for the opportunity to really look into myself, to learn about me, my passions, everything. And let me tell you guys, it's something that reflection is very important. You have to know where you've been in order then to get to where you have to be. So I just want to say thank you. And the journey is the reward. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Any other questions while Anthony's here? I hope you heard what was said. Nisha, you want to say something?
Yes, I have two questions. Anthony, as an entrepreneur, what is your greatest fear or one of your greatest fears, and how do you manage it? Also, do you have any non-negotiables in your business?
All right, great question. So the first one, do I have any fears? Yeah, absolutely. I always, no one really wants to ever get into something and fail. I think the unknown is always something that is fearful of me. But what I've learned, and that's why I have this persona about being a practical innovator, because my balance on maybe putting in resources, things like that, into ideas, into passion, right? Because you have to know yourself. You have to know your limits, if you will. And you have to know how that operates. And how that operates will minimize the fear that goes into certain things. But I try today not to be too fearful. I try to mitigate my risk, if you will. And mitigating my fear as well is by getting into things that I am an expert about and that I know about, because I've seen the other side of that on everything I just said. So, and one of the other things that's really important as well, you know, if you ever get into your own business, blog, whatever it is, you always want to get feedback from people. And I really didn't spend as much time doing that. I really assumed that I knew what people wanted, when in fact you really don't until you hear from them. So that also mitigates the risk as well and mitigates fear. So you try and keep your eyes open, but there's always that element of the unknown. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
And the second question was, what was your second question again?
Do you have any non-negotiables in your business?
Yeah, I mean, my non-negotiable is, what I've learned is I've gotten involved with people that I think the non-negotiable is not the compromise. And I think over the years, I've compromised in ways I didn't truly believe in myself. So now the non-negotiable is always to believe in what I am doing and to never compromise. Now, that doesn't mean not to learn about things and not to get better, but compromising is different. Compromising is something about, maybe giving away some goals. And I don't mean compromising in a discussion with your friend, your family member, or whomever. I mean compromising in a negative way and saying, you know what, I believe in this, but I'm not going to believe in that anymore. I'm going to compromise that in a negative way. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions before I let Anthony go? Anthony, thank you so much. There was so much in this presentation that one could take away and reflect on. So all of you really take something from this, whatever it is. Just take something from this. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Welcome.
You're the best.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
The recording has stopped.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your shirt's pretty cool too. It's pretty dope. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? I saw this on vacation. I was on vacation over the past few days, and I was at a pool, and I saw someone wearing this. So I went on Amazon. I was like, I'm going to buy this right now. And it's the first time I'm wearing it, so thank you for pointing it out. I thought it applied to us. So work harder. Nobody cares. Just work harder.
Right.
See you guys.
Thank you, Anthony. I'll see you soon. Promise.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't wait. Bye.